And when the last of you is gone, I will personally throw your beloved Lotus into the sun!
Before you bite my head off in the comments, please note that I do not advise for the Lotus to be removed from the game, as she does not present any problems to the game, outside of sometimes spewing obvious things such as
"It's the Grineer,"
which can get a tad annoying hearing them over and over. Space Mom is fine, it's just that sometimes Space Mom is fucking repetitive. Anyways, I only think it would be a bit interesting to see the Lotus have less impact on the Tenno, leaving the player the option of going about their own way rather than following the traditional good guy Space Ninja route. The War Within's implementation of giving the player choices via dialogue that would then have an effect on your moral compass is cool, but the issue is that currently the moral compass doesn't do shit in game outside of showing how you responded in the War Within's quest dialogue. Suppose you expanded something like the moral compass to have an effect on the entire game. What I mean is, rather than being guided by the Lotus every step of the way after completing the tutorial, suppose that she leaves you to your own devices. This of course would allow the player greater freedom in terms of how they wish to progress through the star chart and interact with other factions. Not having to follow the predetermined Space Mom says route would mean the player would be able to directly interact with the Grineer or Corpus in a non-kill everyone you see manner. For instance, interacting with the Grineer would allow the player to gradually gain favor with them, eventually being able to fight side by side with the Grineer, with the earned trust of the Twin Queens. Think of it like an invasion, but on a much, much larger scale, essentially affecting the entire game. Much like how the second dream was the first to bring cinematic moments to the game, suppose that the next quest is the first that allows the player to decide how to progress, how to act, who to kill, and who to ally with. Suppose that the Lotus, Ortis, Teshin, and every other outside influence to the player is either absent or simply silent throughout this quest. This would mean that what would affect the outcome of the quest or what comes next for the player would be the player's very own actions and choices. The Chains of Harrow quest has already shown us that it's possible for the Tenno to be mentally afflicted, so why not also give the Tenno the possibility of being ethically afflicted? Obviously, a quest with the potential to have numerous different outcomes depending on what the player does would be completely absurd to attempt to fit into the lore, as not all players are the same. This would mean that although the quest would grant the player complete freedom in terms of how to complete the quest, it would ultimately have little to no impact on the overall lore of the game in order to preserve continuity. A You Decide quest would be something I would absolutely be thrilled to see, as that would make for an experimental yet new addition, again like the second Dream cinematic moments. However, given how the game is designed to be instance-based, not including the open-world planes of Eidolon, creating a different scenario for every single different choice would be an absolute clusterfuck to make. If you ask me, reducing the Lotus's impact on the Tenno would result in the player slowly but surely move from Space Kid that pilots a ninja to morally varied Space Kid that pilots a ninja, an effect I would pay to see. That's nothing but a pipe dream at this point in time, so until then, death to the Lotus. Thank you for watching.